but I don't know why we chose the time period we did. It was kind of a similar time period to where the first baby would be due. So like my firstborn son, who is on this world with us, is born on March 26th. So, you know, if you kind of calculate that, we kind of chose exactly a year after. And it was a ride. It was, I think, this is kind of TMI, but every time I would, you know, go to the bathroom, I would always check to see, like, am I bleeding? Am I, you know, is something happening? Am I losing the baby? Of course, everything was healthy and progressing normally. But there's always, it just felt like something was just sitting on your shoulder the whole time, you know, like, hey, something bad could happen, or, you know, there's so many rules with pregnancy that you're like, oh, do I really have to follow this? Or do I really not eat, you know, sushi, or do I not, you know, go for a run? And so I kind of would try and err on the side of conservatism, you know, like I'd be a little bit more conservative with what I did or what I ate, just because I was kind of running that PTSD cycle through. Right. So, yeah.
So now this is a harder question. We're diving in a little bit harder. Yeah. So while you were pregnant now, and now this is your son, do we mention his name, or do you want to keep his name private? I'm
sure. His name is River.
Okay. So now you're pregnant with River, and this is going to be your first full-term pregnancy. And through this full-term, I know that you're concerned. There's, you know, I went through the, you know, PTSD, and I'm checking to see, is everything okay with this pregnancy? And I'm wondering, while you went through the 9-month pregnancy, did you notice that there was anything stirring or causing any kind of mental restlessness or physical restlessness in you?
Yeah, I think it was definitely more mental. I think I physically felt great. Like, I was one of those people who, like, I love to be pregnant. I feel really good when I'm pregnant, but there was a lot of mental agitation, and it was, you know, in the form of, like control, you know, like I wanted to, I've always been someone who kind of falls after control, and like, I want to make sure everything's going the right way at the right time at the right speed, blah, blah, blah. And for me, I didn't know it was a problem. I should say that. You know, it's like, oh, this is just who I am. This is just Blair. This is what I do. I'm, you know, overly anxious about certain things, or trying to control certain aspects of my diet, or who I'm seeing as a provider, or going to the hospital or not going to the hospital. And I kind of would I would narrow the field so much that if anything like veered off of that course, I would be very upset about it. You know, like kind of like, you know, how women like decide on a birth plan.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, I want this to happen, and then I want to have a water birth, and then the baby is going to come out, and then, you know, skin to skin right away. And if one of those things didn't happen, and spoiler alert, most of them didn't happen for me, right. I was very upset. So I didn't notice that I was kind of going down that dark path, though, while I was pregnant, if that makes any sense.
Yes, completely. So you didn't notice that. Did anybody else notice that and say anything to you?
Gosh, I mean, no, probably because they just think I'm probably a little wacko anyway. Hey, we all need a little wacko in our life, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I don't think anyone had concerns. I do not think anyone would have said anything that they were concerned about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Yeah, because and was that part of your I air quote everything, because I don't like to identify by certain things. I mean, but there's things that we do, and is that part of your persona even before you got married? Was there a controlling factor that you felt before, like, if I can control this, then this will be the outcome? If this does this, then I can expect that to be the result of that. Did that happen to you before you got pregnant? Did you feel any of that, or was that a new experience where it was this the mental restlessness or agitation and trying to, narrow the field of control so much?
I wish I could say that it wasn't, but yes, that's been my modus operandi for
Okay, yeah.
quite a long time. So, yeah, I think I just experienced some, childhood trauma with having divorced parents and having a lot of confusion as a young child with that. So, I was always the one who's kind of looking for the rule book, the playbook. Like, okay, just give me the page that says, here's what you do, X, Y, Z. That will equal, happy smiley face.
Right.
and when I didn't have the playbook to go by, that's when things kind of make me feel a little unraveled, a little uneven, and a little just kind of out of, like we've been saying, out of control, and that's not a space that I feel healthy in. But now I do now, which is good. But back then I did not. So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, we have a ton of questions that I want to get through. So because we're going to run out of time here. So I'm going to bring this in for a landing, and we will come back next week. If you're willing to do that, are you willing to come back next week and dive into these 2 full-term pregnancies and what happened along the line? Because you have this phenomenal story and this rainbow, and again, I'm doing this in air quotes, rainbow at the end of the story. And I would love to share that with the listeners and allow other people to know that they can be in a place that's very scary and feels very rocky, but the end of that, if you hang in there and you take the steps, and I know that you have many steps that you can share with us, that your life can really be this beautiful, magnificent life. And I would love for you to come back and be able to share that with us, Blair.
I would love that. Thank you.
Oh, fabulous. Good. Excellent. So we are going to conclude this recording. And before we completely conclude it, Blair, would you let the listeners know what is the best way to get in touch with you, or how do they follow you on social media?
Yeah, I would love to connect with anyone who has a similar story or doesn't. Anything goes. Please head to my website at blairshackle.com. You can find out how to connect with my social media sites on there as well.
Awesome. Perfect. And for anybody who's driving or can't grab pen and paper and write that information down right now, no worries, because it will be in the show notes. And so everybody will be able to find the information for you, Blair. So we're going to wrap up. Yes. We'll wrap up this session, and then we're going to come back next week, and we're going to dive into Blair's journey through her first pregnancy, and just a little idea on what that is. Acute postpartum anxiety and PTSD. And it was a journey, and I'm so grateful to share this with the listeners. So please be sure to come back for part 2, which will be next week. Thank you very much. Love you, Blair. Thank you so much for being
here. Love you. Thank you.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. And for the listeners, we will be back next week. So please be sure that you join us. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Please go to nadahogan.com for show notes and other information you can use right away. If you like what you heard here, please subscribe to our show, and don't forget to rate and review right there on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your shows. And don't forget to tell your friends about it. We'll see you next week.